Hello guys, and welcome back to another cold episode. On today's episode, as you can tell by the title and the thumbnail, I wanted to talk about the upcoming selection pack, and more specifically, all of the cards and what to expect with them, or at least what we have gotten announced. So notably, we have some new Galaxy Eyes cards. We have the Purrely cards, as well as the Mikanko cards being announced, and whatever this card is. But all in all, I do want to kind of go over these cards and explain what I expect them to be. And explain their implications, because a lot of people have been talking about Purrely and kind of been hyping it up. So yeah, I want to talk about those. I want to talk about Mikanko because I've heard similar things about Mikanko coming to Master Duel, and then of course Galaxy Eyes. Let's start off with Galaxy Eyes. Galaxy Eyes are receiving another big boss monster. You just slap it on top. He does more battle damage. He does. He becomes unaffected. Is really large. It's not great. I'm not gonna lie. It's not very great. It's a chaos monster as well, so it requires a specific Galaxy Eyes dragon in the Galaxy Eyes Prime Photon Dragon number 62, which is just immediately not great. It is technically generically summonable with 3 level 8 light monsters. However, if you're getting 3 level 8 light monsters on the field, you're better off not making this card because it doesn't really do anything other than detaching in the battle phase to deal more damage. That's all it does, which is like, hey, that's fine, but not great. We also have Saga of the Dragon Emperor. Targeted dragon monster you control, its attack becomes doubled, then until the end of the turn. Then if your opponent currently controls a dragon monster, the activation of the targeted monster's effects cannot be negated for the rest of this turn, which is fine. Notably, it's only the activations and not the actual effect. So something like a Sprite Red is still going to be able to negate, but something like Baron wouldn't be. I think that's how that's read correct. The activations of the targeted, because it's not the activations and the effects. That's very weird that they didn't do that. I did read that correctly. That is weird, but okay. Also, during the main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard to special summon a Dragon XZ monster that is banished or in your graveyard in defense position. Again, just additional Galaxy Eyes support. Kinda. It's alright. I don't even know if you would play this in the Galaxy deck, but you might. Moving on, the next thing I want to talk about is... actually, there are theoretically more cards coming, and I would be surprised if we're not getting more Galaxy Eyes or Photon cards. Now, there's a lot of them, so I'm not going to say any specific cards, because I genuinely don't know. However, I wouldn't be surprised to see things like a Galaxy 100 or Photon Jumper, but there's a ton. Couldn't tell you exactly all of them. But the next thing I want to talk about is Mikanko. Now, a lot of people have said Mikanko is actually going to shake up the meta, and to that I say, the only thing it's going to do is replace Numeron. Now, if you don't know what Mikanko does, let me quickly explain. Mikanko utilizes its ritual monster in order to get equip spells onto either its own monsters or actually ritual summon in order to go into this card, which then also gets an equip card on it. But basically, what these monsters do is, with an equip card, it doesn't really matter the equip card, some of them gain protection, some of them gain like special effects. They all just kind of do similar things. Also, the ceremony is the ritual spell, which allows them to, at quick play, be able to ritual summon, which is nice. But the Mikankos, what they do is, if they have an equip card, you take no battle damage from battles. So you just don't take any battle damage from basically all of these guys. That's their big thing. And any damage any damage you would have taken, your opponent now takes instead. So basically what this means is, if they are equipped with a card and you have a big guy on your side of the field, they attack into you, they deal a whole bunch of damage, and now you're hurt. Now granted, notably, there are cards, I don't know exactly which one of the equip spells, but one of the equip spells does have the ability to give them additional attacks, and so because of that, they are able to hit you multiple times after giving you a kaiju, and then okoing you by basically making you hit yourself, if that makes sense. So that's kind of the gimmick that the deck does. However, it can also be played with Libromancer to actually do like ritual stuff and like, spam out some level 3s and some level 4s with the Libromancers. So it's not entirely just an OTK strategy, but that's mostly what it's going to be used for, and mostly what I would imagine you would see Mikanko as. So it's just Numeron 2.0 with waifus. That's all that it is. Instead of using gates, you're just using waifus to OTK. That's more or less what that is going to be boiled down to. Now let's talk about Purrely. Now, Purrely is, well, okay. First of all, we already know all of these cards. They have been announced, and they have been mentioned in the selection pack. We just do not know the rarity of these cards. I would imagine with the 2 other URs, one other card, probably Noir, is also going to be a UR. I would imagine Purrely is probably an SR, or maybe just a rare, and something like one of the memories as well is probably going to be an SR. I would imagine two SRs, 3 URs, and a bunch of commons and rares. However, notably, I do want to talk about all of these cards. Starting off with Happiness. This card is probably a card you will not need, period, at all. Why? Let's talk about, first of all, its summoning condition. Its summoning condition doesn't matter. That's not what makes it important. Yes, it is a bit difficult to summon because it does require you to have a rank 2 with 5 or more materials, but that's not too big of a deal in Purrely. The whole gimmick is to use the quick plays and then attach themselves to those rank 2s in order to get additional materials to then use those materials consistently with their non-once per turn effects. So that's kind of the idea. And then during your main phase, you can detach a material from this card to negate all effects of face-up monsters your opponent currently controls until the end of the turn. Now, that's not bad, but also if this card has a level 1 Purrely monster attached to it as material, you can also, or your opponent also cannot activate cards or effects in response to this effect's activation, which means can't be negated, can't be interacted with. And then when an attack is declared involving this card with 5 or more material, inflict 1500 damage to your opponent. This is bad, because it's only during your main phase. It's not a quick effect. It only negates monsters. It's 2500. It doesn't even get bigger than that, really. I guess it could. I believe one of... actually, I don't think one of these... Yeah, this one. Delicious Memory gives it an additional 300 attack and defense for each material attached to it. So yes, it can get bigger. But even with that being said, that's not really all that crazy. So all things considered, just not great. The effect just isn't great, especially compared to the much more likely summonable monster, or just the other monster you could go for, I should say, which is Noir. Noir has the ability, the same summoning requirements, where 5 or more materials, and if this card has 5 or more materials, it's unaffected. It's just a towers. Now, granted, it only has 2800 defense, but that's not that big of a deal, again, due to things like Delicious Memory and some of the other cards. I believe its Happiness has the ability to modulate attack and stuff like that to go for OTKs more efficiently, which is nice. However, it also has the ability to detach 2 materials to target a card your opponent controls or in their graveyard and place it on the bottom of the deck. This is a quick effect if you have a level 1 Purrely monster as material. No once per turn, and is a quick effect, and spins a card to the deck, which is the best form of removal. Outside of banishing face down, it's the best form of removal in the game. Arguably even better than just banishing face down, but probably better. Or probably not as good. So, all things considered, that's pretty good. It's non-target, compulse, well, it's non-target unicorn every turn, right? Which is, or sorry, it is targeted. It's basically just a Nightmare Unicorn being summoned every turn, multiple times, which is great. And on a big unaffected body. So all in all, you just make this almost every time. Now, let's actually talk about the rest of the cards and the notable exclusions, first and foremost. So, first of all, we have ourselves the 3 quick plays. That's pretty standard. We also have Purrely. This is absolutely necessary. On summon, you excavate the top 3 and add a Purrely card. Purrely Happy Memory increases your life points, I believe. I'm wrong. It's Pretty Memory that increases your life points. Each player gains 1,000 life points. This is a one where you special summon the Purrely monster from the deck, And then once applied the next time, that card would be destroyed by a card effect. It's not destroyed. Right. Also, this card can attack monsters up to a number of times for each battle phase, up to the number of Purrely happy memories attached to it, +1. So basically, if you have multiple happy memories attached, your monster can attack multiple times, which is great. We have Pretty Memory, which allows you to gain life points, then discard a card. If you do, special summon the level 1 Purrely from your deck, and then a Purrely XZ monster that has this card as material gains the effect to once per turn you can send one of the card you control to the graveyard, then target a card your opponent controls and attach it to this card as material, which is great forms of removal. And then on top of that, we have a Delicious Memory, where you can make a monster on your field unable to be destroyed by battle until the end of this next turn. Then you can discard a card, and if you do, special summon a level 1 Purrely from your deck. All of them have that stipulation at the end. Then you can discard to special summon. Now, notably, you don't have to discard. Not a requirement. But it is you can, and then you get to special summon, which is pretty nice. And then a Purrely XZ gains attack and defense for each material attached. So there you go. Those are the 3. And then we have Purrely My Friend, which is just additional search ability, because you reveal 3 Purrely cards and then grab one, which is very, very nice. Next up, we have ourselves Purrely Happiness, which is the actual OTK option for this deck, which is great. Good thing we have this. At the end of the damage step, if this card battled, you can add a Purrely card from your deck to your hand. Also, if this card has Purrely Happy Memory as material, it can have the attack of a face-up monster on the field. Thrice per turn, you can activate a Purrely Quick Play spell. Quick effect. When you activate a Purrely Quick Play spell, quick effect, you can attach 1 card on the field to this card as material. Then you can return a spell trap your opponent controls to the hand. So, notably, what this does is, if you activate the Quick Play spell, you just quick effect, attach it, so that it never actually goes to the grave. You just whoop, attach. So that's kind of the idea, and I believe all of them have this same thrice per turn effect. But this one's probably the best one, just allowing you to actually go to the battle phase. Maybe not the best one, but it's good. Beauty has the effect to target an effect monster your opponent controls and negate it as just a regular effect. However, it does become a quick effect if you have Pretty Memory, and then Plump has the ability to target up to 2 spell traps in any graveyard and attach them to this card. So this is the best one to get like extra materials on it, because you can target your own spells and traps, and then obviously that's a quick effect if you have Delicious Memory, which is great. Delicious Memory is also probably the best of the spells, so there's that. Now, notably, I do want to talk about exclusions from this that will matter significantly, that being Purrely, Purrely Noir, and Purrely Leap. Let's talk about Leap first. Leap is the easiest way to get Noir because it doesn't require you to actually XZ summon it on your turn with 5 or more materials on one of your rank 2 monsters, but now you can just summon it off of basically anything on the opponent's turn, which is also great. And then on top of that, that means that if you have something with 4 materials, you can make it have that 5th material and have a unaffected Noir, which is also very nice. So there's that. But then it also goes to the extra deck during the end phase of the next turn. However, I believe it's just straight up unaffected, right? No, opponent's activated effects. So there's that. It does have a timer, so end phase of the next turn, which means you have until basically your turn after you activate it. But that's not that big of a deal, because you could just make Zeus or a second Noir. Not really, but you can make something. Anyway, you can also banish this card from the graveyard to target up to 3 Purrely monsters in your graveyard. Just shuffle them back into the deck for that extra recyclability. Now we have Purrely Lily, which is 1, just another name, but 2, on summon, actually adds a Purrely card from your deck to your hand. Unlike Purrely, which just excavates cards to add a Purrely spell trap from your deck to your hand, this can just add anything. You just on summon, you add a Purrely card. It's great. It's a level 1. It works. Also, it can't add a quick play spell, but that's not that big of a deal when you can add things like Purrely Street, which also apparently wasn't in here, which I would be surprised if we didn't actually get Purrely Street. That one in particular would be weird. It'd also be weird to not get Sleepy Memory in this, because this one's also pretty good, and it's also just one of the quick plays. There isn't really technically a... Well, there is. It's Noir. Purrely Noir. But it'd still be surprising to not get the Sleepy Memory, which is also probably is a very good quick play. We'll talk about that in a second. But it can also grab, more importantly, Purrely, the original Purrely. So there's that. And it can also grab My Friend Purrely, which can also basically be a search, which is nice. So not that big of a deal to not be able to grab a quick play. Let's talk about Sleepy Memory, also something that I would imagine is actually showing up in this set, but it could be in the next set, so don't be surprised if it's not there. But apply this effect, discard, and then if you do, special summon a Purrely, and then once applied, the next battle or effect damage you take this turn becomes 0. So it basically protects you from any sort of battle damage or any sort of effect damage. So if your opponent's going to burn you or something like that, you can go, no, I'm not going to take that damage. Yeah, there you go. A Purrely Z monster as well gains the ability to, during the standby phase, draw a card. So this is where it becomes pretty good, because Sleepy Memory basically allows you to refill your hand depending on how many of these you have attached. So if you have 3 of this attached, you basically got to draw 3 cards, because it's not a hard once per turn on any of that effect. It's just a soft once per turn. So you use 1 a piece of each of those separate effects, if that makes sense. It's very weird, but basically you get to draw a whole bunch of cards. Not surprising. But yeah, that's more or less it. And then, we got to talk about Noir. Noir just came to the TCG not too long ago, and this card's absolutely crazy. Probably made Purrely the best deck in the TCG, and the reason for this is because it, once per turn, you can discard a card, then target a card your opponent controls, or up to 2 if this card has Purrely Sleepy Memory as material. Again, the Sleepy Memory has this guy. Then you can return that card to the hand. So basically it just allows you to bounce a card. It's like a Phoenix Wing Wind Blast. No, it's not that one. It's not sacking the deck. But it's, it's a free bounce, basically. And sometimes 2. And then up to thrice per turn. It also has the quick play thing as well. But, however, it also has the ability to set a Purrely trap directly from your deck, which is why this card is so good. Guess what? You activate a field spell, and then... you activate your quick play spell, you attach it, and then you also get to set your trap, the Purrely Leap, which then allows you to immediately go into the Noir. And even without the ability to be unaffected, you still have maybe multiple bounces or multiple spins, which is oftentimes enough. So there you go. That's kind of the overall game plan. However, as of right now, with just this deck's not going to do anything. I'm going to tell you right now, this deck is going to be maybe Rogue. Maybe Rogue. This deck really is missing some of its most important pieces with just this lineup. So I don't expect something like a ban list to arrive if we're not receiving full Purrely, which it looks like is not the case, because they probably want more URs for this archetype, and because of that, they're probably staggering out the release date for it. Anyway, that's going to be it for this episode. I hope that you guys did indeed enjoy it. If you did, like us very much, so appreciate it. And if you want to check out more content like this, as well as more Yu-Gi-Oh!, then just be sure to subscribe. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching, and remember to always stay frosty. Bye-bye. Shout out to the Frost Guard, my members. Thank you guys so much for the support, and I hope you enjoy the content.